I'll tell you what's interesting. Tariffs or no tariffs, most of the reporting on tariffs is done from the perspective of newsrooms, the perspective of Capitol Hill, the perspective of Washington, D.C., or New York, or L.A., and so forth and so on. Not from the perspective of fishermen, farmers, ranchers, and so many others who are praising the tariffs. Again, whatever your view on tariffs, it just shows you how government-centric and city-centric the media are in this country. It just goes to show you. And something's happening now that you see, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, that of course the critics never anticipated, which is now we have over 70 countries knocking on the door of the United States trying to negotiate deals on these tariffs. Trump is always underestimated as a deal maker, always underestimated. Look, you don't always have to agree with him. I don't always agree with him, but the fact of the matter is we've never seen anything like this. We just have never seen anything like this. And we will find out how this turns out by looking back. But I think it's going to turn out pretty well. As long as he keeps the pro-growth agenda, and he clearly is committed to it. Apparently there are people on Capitol Hill, the old rhinos and the ruling class republics. Hey, I have an idea. What? What if we just increase taxes on the rich a little bit and not... See, this is what Reagan would not accept. The Marxist pablum. The class warfare crap. I spent time over the weekend and spent time here talking about the real figures when it comes to Trump's first tax cuts and the impact on the various tax brackets. And the fact is, all this talk about tax cuts for billionaires, the billionaires got the least of it. Now, you might think that's great. I don't much care. My point is not to screw people, not to attack successful people, not to attack American businesses, which affects our employees and our industrial heartland and all the rest of it. I want America to succeed, not part of America, not some Marxist class that's set up as part of America. I want all Americans to do well. Maybe there's a billionaire industry out there that creates life-saving drugs. So why should they be taxed more? I'm just saying. It just doesn't make any sense to me. We have the highest corporate income tax rates in the free industrial world. We have higher corporate income tax rates than they have in communist China. How does that help America? How does that help the employees of these companies? How does that help investors, those of you who have IRAs? And it doesn't help you at all. The Democrats do this because not only are they of the Marxist class warfare variety, but they do this because it's propaganda to get you worked up and get you upset while they screw you. That's the bottom line. I told you, this battle is not between the rich and the poor and this class and that class. This battle is between the ruling elite, the establishment, and we the people. That's what this battle is about. That's the battle that's taking place right now in all sectors of our country. Whether it's the government, whether it's the private sector, whether it's the border, the battle is between the ruling class and we the people. It's not an economic battle based on Marxist class warfare models. It is an American battle between American Marxists who have, and I call them American Marxists, who have sort of tailor-made, Americanized Marxism. That's what it is. Now, I wrote a whole book on it, so I'm not going to waste your time about it here. Now, let's talk about the courts. Thank God for our Supreme Court, and let me be more specific. 4 members of the court in particular. John Roberts has been carrying his weight. He deserves kudos for it. But there's 4 who've never bent. Clarence Thomas, Sam Alito, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh. They do not bend. They understand the Constitution. They understand how it's supposed to work. They understand that the judges under them are not supposed to run the country. We'll have nothing but anarchy mixed with tyranny. That's what we'll have. And I just want to underscore the fact that this is not what our Constitution provides for. This is not what was debated in Philadelphia. This is not what was debated in the state capitals at the state ratification conventions. There's not a single delegate, well, maybe one, Hamilton, but really not any, and not a single in the states ratifier who would have agreed to a constitution that empowered judges, single judges, to conduct themselves this way. And the only fallback the legal analysts on TV have is Marbury versus Madison in 1803, which was a bogus decision. You read your Constitution. Read it. It's short. You will not find judicial review. They call it an implied power. Wait a minute. Does the Constitution talk about implied powers? No, the Constitution talks about expressed powers. Expressed powers. Stay with me. Now, there's a clause, Clause 18, in Article 1 of the Constitution. The necessary and proper clause, we call it. Section 8. Necessary and proper clause. And so you know what the elastic clause. The elastic clause. You know what elastic does. Necessary and proper. So Congress has the power to pass laws that they believe are necessary and proper. That's not what it says. Congress doesn't have carte blanche, can pass laws on anything they want. There's nothing elastic about the clause. The whole Constitution is built and constructed in a certain mindset. Necessary and proper has nothing to do with carte blanche and creating legislation. It means that Congress, or for that matter the executive, have the power to use the means necessary and proper to uphold a specific delegated power that they've been granted under the Constitution. The means, the necessary and proper means to uphold the Constitution, to exercise their delineated authority. To read it any other way is to destroy the entire construct of the Constitution. Separation of powers, balance of power, the 10th Amendment and federalism later, which was added by the first Congress, and they took that very seriously. It would mean that there's no restraint on Congress. It's like judicial review, where Marshall, the Chief Justice, claimed that the Supreme Court had judicial review. He didn't use the phrase, but that's what he said. An implied power. It's implied. I mean, if the court has the power to make decisions, that is, to look at the various disputes, it has to have the power to make a final determination. But that's not what the Constitution says. It says nothing about such an implied power. It says nothing about judicial review. Nothing. And so these two things alone, the claim that Congress has implied powers, basically to legislate on anything it wants, is a lie. And number two, that the Supreme Court has the implied power to have the final decision, as another lie. Now, that's the way it's worked out. That's what's happening. But it's a lie. Now, Mark, why are you getting into all this history? Number one, I like it. Number two, I think you'll like it. But number three, it applies to these district courts. In the case of Marbury, we're talking about a Supreme Court. Congress passes the Judiciary Acts, as it has throughout our history, and creates these courts. The idea that a single judge in Washington, D.C., or Seattle, Washington, or Boston, Massachusetts, or Providence, Rhode Island, or Manhattan in New York, or you decide, can issue an edict like a dictator, not only outside his or her district, but apply it to the entire nation and impose it on a president under threat of contempt is so outrageous. It is so incongruous with the Constitution of the United States. It's appalling. And we literally have 3 Supreme Court justices, the radical Democrats, the Three Stooges on the left, and Barrett, who don't see it that way. Barrett uses sort of procedural arguments, sleight of hand, to throw in with the libs. But it is what it is. And the fact is that she's not only unreliable, she's becoming more reliable for the left. I warned you about her before anybody else, right here behind this microphone. Now people are wringing their hands. Great. Where were they 3 years ago? Nowhere. We have led this battle, you and me, behind this microphone, and then on Fox and on Blaze, to get these courts under control. And I've done it, not because I have power to do it, but because it's the power of argument. It's the power of explanation. It's the power of history. That is the strength of talk radio. That is the strength of having the platforms that I use. The power to explain and persuade and to encourage activists among the people, judges and justices who take an oath to do their jobs. That's why free speech is so important and why the left hates it. That's why this format of conservative talk radio is so important, which is why the left has constantly tried to put it out of business. But this program reaches all over the world and every corner of the country. The media put out this phony magazine, Talkers Magazine, their phony list, I should say. And they even say, we're not sure, it's based on our experience. Bull crap. This show is either the biggest or the second biggest in the world. Our weekend show on Fox is a powerhouse. It is. We go up against March Madness. We go up against Sunday Night Football. We go up against it, baby, because we're on 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday and Sunday. Pounding. We make our case. And if it wasn't for you and other Americans, patriotic Americans, concerned about this country, concerned about your family, protecting your faith, I wouldn't be here, would I? No, I wouldn't. This should give you a lot of hope. Now, we don't rest on our laurels. These battles are constant. I love these people who say, end the never wars. Here's the problem. The never-ending wars are never-ending for a reason. Often that's because of the incompetence of a commander-in-chief or the imprudent decisions of a commander-in-chief. But let's not fool ourselves. The battle between good and evil will never end. Those of you who are of faith, regardless of your faith, you know this to be true. It's in the Torah, it's in the Bible, it's in the Quran. The battle against evil is never ending. It's a never-ending war. That's what it is. When you have modern-day secularists or buffoons who have microphones, who have platforms, who go on and on and on telling you that all we need to do is be quiet. All we need to do is back off. All we need to do is not be this or not be that. They don't understand good versus evil. Because if they're right, evil will cover this planet and there'll be no pushback.